I am now a maxed Ultimate Ironman, one of the first 500 people to ever do it in the 10 years that it's been possible, and my reward for getting across the finish line is the Max Cape, the best utility item in the game. It has every perk from every skill cape in one equipable item. Unlimited house teleports, unlimited bank teleports, double HP regen, better prayer restoration, and much more. All of it is there in the Max Cape. There's also another benefit to having the Max Cape that I haven't mentioned yet in these videos. There are certain cape slot items that you can use a Max Cape on to combine them, which is basically a transmog for the other cape to give it the iconic shape of the Max Cape. So for example, if you use a Max Cape on an Imbued God Cape from Mage Arena 2, you get a transmog for the MA2 cape that looks like a recolored Max Cape. It's just a transmog though. It doesn't get the Max Cape stats or the skill cape perks. It's still just equivalent to the MA2 cape, but now you can flex the fact that you're maxed while still wearing a different cape that may be more important for whatever PVM activity you're doing. There's actually quite a few different capes that you can do this with, and they're capes that are often used for PVM because they're the best in one stat or another, or at least they were at the time that the Max Cape was added to the game. So you can use it on the Artie Cloak 4, or the MA2 capes, or the Myths cape, or even the Ava's devices. And you can also use it on a Fire cape, but I'm not going to do that. Let's talk about this Fire Cape for a moment. I got my Fire Cape in November of 2021, and ever since then, it's been my melee cape of choice. But 3.5 years later, when I've maxed my UIM and I have multiple best in slot armor sets and raid mega rares, it's a bit of an embarrassment, and that's because there's something better that I could have instead: the Infernal Cape. The Infernal Cape is the best in slot melee strength cape in the game. It has slightly higher attack and defense bonuses over the Fire Cape, and it also has double the strength bonus. So it'll give an extra max hit a lot of the time, but that's not the main reason why it's important. The Infernal Cape is a status symbol because of how you get it. The Inferno is arguably the most difficult piece of content in the game that's designed as a solo encounter. It's the logical continuation of the fight capes, which is what rewarded the Fire Cape. So it's longer, more difficult, more stressful, and more prestigious, and it rewards the Infernal Cape when you beat it. So the Infernal Cape isn't about having an extra max hit for melee, and it's not even about having the best in slot melee cape. It's about proving that you can beat the Inferno, and in this video, I'm going to do that. The problem is, I've never attempted the Inferno before on any account. This is going to be a long process because it's going to take a lot of preparation. There's a lot of things I want to do to prepare for this on the UIM. Some of them may be more important than others, but I want to take the opportunity to get a lot of things done regardless, now that I'm done with that year-long grind that was maxing my account. First on the list, Vorkath, and to explain why, I need to talk about an item that I've been using as my cape slot item for ranged, fittingly the ranging cape, and more specifically, why am I not using an Ava's device? The Ava's Assembler is the best cape slot item that I have access to for ranged combat, but there's a major problem with it. It's untradeable, and it's not storable. So if I were to use the Assembler as my go-to for ranged combat, I would have to keep it in my inventory basically at all times, unless it's in death storage. So I've been going with my second best option, the ranging cape. The ranging cape is storable because it's an actual cape, and capes can go on the cape rack in the player-owned house. The Assembler is not a cape, but I just unlocked a way to turn it into one. That's right, even though the Ava's Assembler is not storable on the cape rack, the Max Cape Transmog is. So now I'm on my way to Vorkath to get another Vorkath's head, to turn it into an Assembler, to turn that into an Assembler Max Cape.
Everybody got that?
Here's the loadout. I am using melee for this with the Dragon Hunter Lance because I dropped my Dragon Hunter crossbow after I got my Twisted Bow. I've never done this fight with melee before, so I'm gonna need to learn how to Wooks Walk with melee. It shouldn't be too bad though. I'm also a little bit worried about the Dragonfire attack. I don't have any anti-fire potions, so I will be camping the anti-dragon shield and praying magic. That said, that combo only reduces the Dragonfire down to a max hit of 20, so hopefully that's enough. Vorkath is a pretty rough boss. He hits really hard with all combat styles, which is why I'm staying out of his melee range unless I'm also attacking, and he also has a variety of different types of Dragonfire. Yellow Dragonfire deals a lot of damage if you're not wearing Dragonfire protection, green Dragonfire inflicts venom, pink Dragonfire deactivates your prayers, and orange Dragonfire targets your tile, and basically kills you if you don't move out of the way. And not only that, he also has 2 special attacks. The first is this rapid fire attack, which follows your tile with high hitting dragon fire, so you have to be on the move a lot. And the second is the zombified spawn, where he freezes you and spawns an ad, and if you don't kill that ad before it reaches you, it blows up for a lot of damage. Alright, let's see how this goes. It is a 1 in 50 drop for the Vorkath head, so hopefully I'm not here for too long. Alright, well that is kill number 1 done. I definitely messed something up with the Wooks walking, but I'll get it figured out. So it would help if I weren't running directly over acid every time I hit him. Hey, there we go, that's a lot better. This method basically dodges all the rapid fire attacks while still being able to attack on cooldown, and that helps. Ooh, dragon arrow tips, that's nice. There are some drops that I'm going to be on the lookout for here, like dragon arrow tips, dragon dart tips, and herb seeds. Those are going to be really important supplies for later. Vorkath also has a manta ray drop, which would be really good if I could get that, because using manta rays for food would be way better than cheese potatoes. A new PB 149. It just occurred to me that there's a pretty free combat achievement I could get here, which is Stick 'em with the pointy end. That CA is for doing a full kill with melee only, which is basically what I've been doing, but I've been switching to the Slayer staff to auto-cast Crumble Undead on the spawn, which invalidates the achievement. So for this kill, I'm just going to switch to a piece of Ancestral to bump up my accuracy, and then manual cast it, which should let me get the CA. Yeah, there we go. That is an elite task, basically for free because I was already doing it. Hey, there it is, the Vorkath's head. It's that easy, man. Just get the drop after 10 kills. Game is easy. All right, this should be everything I need to get an assembler. And let's turn that into the cape. There we go, a storable assembler. That's going to be my new best ranged cape for a while. Next up, I'm going to be doing something I set up for a long time ago. Amethyst mining. Basically, I'm extremely low on dragon darts for the blowpipe, so I've decided I'm just gonna go with amethyst darts for the Inferno. It'll be a DPS downgrade, but I don't think I'll be using the blowpipe enough that it'll actually matter that much. A while ago, I went through the grind of power mining iron to unlock the expert mining gloves, and this is where they're finally gonna come in handy. Amethyst mining is a very AFK method, and I'm gonna be using those expert mining gloves to make it even more AFK. Normally, amethyst veins deplete whenever you successfully mine 2 to 3 amethyst from them, but when you're wearing expert mining gloves, that becomes 3 to 4 amethyst. I'm also going to be using the Varrock Armor 4 to give me a 10% chance to get double amethyst. So this is the method. Click wall, get amethyst, and once I have a full inventory, I can chisel the amethyst into dart tips. And once I'm done, I'll turn those into darts and fill my blowpipe. It's a very AFK method, so I have some time to get some stuff done on the side, which brings me to the next thing I want to talk about. Learning the Inferno is a very expensive process. Every attempt is going to require me to spend a lot of potions, arrows, darts, and runes, and I'm going to have to go through many attempts before I can complete it. And simply put, I don't want to spend those resources for my UIM. So what I'm going to do instead is learn the Inferno on my main account, not my UIM. Over the years, I've been dropping items I don't need from my UIM to my main, and my main has gotten pretty rich in the process, so I'm fine with spending a bunch of GP on that account to buy the resources I need to learn the Inferno. There's just one problem. The combat stats between my UIM and my main are pretty different. I want to make the experience of learning the Inferno on the main as close as possible to when I eventually attempt it for real on the UIM. So that means I'm going to need to match the combat stats between the two accounts. I still need levels in defense, ranged, and prayer, so that's what I'm going to be doing on the side while I mine amethyst. So first up on the list is defense, and I'm doing a pretty classic method for it, Nightmare Zone. I'm not going to get super deep into the method because it's a UIM series, and this is something I'm doing on the main, but basically, this place lets you fight a continuous stream of quest bosses that always stay aggroed on you, so you can basically AFK for about 20 minutes at a time, and then earn about 80 to 90k melee XP per hour with the gear that I have. And yes, I could sell a bunch of stuff in my bank to upgrade my melee gear, but it's probably not going to be worth it because of the GE tax. I could also get better XP rates by doing the Darox method, but I would rather have the 20-minute AFK time. So this is going to be my life for a while now, amethyst mining on the UIM and Nightmare Zone on the main. Hello, it is a good day, because not only is it the day that the last video went live, it's also the day that I got 99 defense on the main for max melees. And yes, I know that melees aren't important for the Inferno, but give me a break. I need an excuse to get fully max combats, okay? Next up is going to be ranged, and I'm actually pretty excited for this one because I get to do a very fun method, chinning in the Monkey Madness 2 caves. I've done chinning before on the UIM, but it's really nice on a main because I can just buy the Chinchampas on the GE, which lets me skip the boring part of catching them all. So here's how the method works. Down here in the tunnels, there are a ridiculous number of maniacal monkeys that will aggro onto me, and if I run back and forth like this, they will get stacked up on each other. Chinchampas deal AoE damage on up to 12 enemies in the blast radius, so you can get a lot of XP per hour by doing this. Now, my XP per hour would be even better if I were using 2 ults to follow dance each other, which can stack them up automatically without having to run back and forth, but I don't have 2 ults, and I am perfectly fine just stacking them up myself. The XP is going to be ridiculous regardless. And another really fun thing about this method is that I basically never run out of prayer. I'm using the Bone Crusher necklace, which restores my prayer whenever one of these guys dies, and because there's so many of them, that is basically always, which means I'm always regenning back to max prayer points. Okay, that was only just like 3 or 4 hours, and there's 99 ranged, very quick compared to all that Nightmare Zone for defense. The last skill I need to train up to 99 on my main is Prayer. I'm currently at 80, and I'm going to be doing the classic method of sacrificing bones at a gilded altar. This gives about 600k prayer XP per hour, which means I'm going to be doing this for a while, but at least it'll be nice to get a lot of levels really quickly. Also, do not ask me how much GP this is costing. It's worth it, I swear. Okay, it has been a few days now since the last clip, and with this last inventory, that's going to be 99 prayer on the main, which means I am now max combats matching my UIM for the Inferno. I feel like that was a long time coming, but it's really nice to get it done. And now I feel like I'm gonna need to disappoint you with what I'm about to do next. My main is fully ready to dive into the Inferno, but I'm not going to do that yet. There's one more thing I want to do on the UIM before I really begin the Inferno arc, and that's clearing up some inventory space. Just take a look at what I have in my bag right now. 6 entire slots taken up with potion ingredients and a seed box taking up a permanent spot in the inventory. Yes, the bag situation is fine and that I can still get enough space to do what I want to do, but on a UIM, everything gets way easier when you have more bag space to work with. So before I go into the Inferno, I want to get the following. Enough toadflax seeds to use up all my noted bird nest and mole parts, enough avantoe seeds to use up all my amylase, and enough quorum and torstal seeds to use up all my noted super defense potions, after which I'll drop whatever super attack potions I have left. I'll also be dropping my seed box at that point, which means I will be freeing up 7 inventory slots, one of which is untradeable. That is massive for a UIM. So how am I going to be getting these seeds? I'm going to be trying out one of the newest bosses in the game that was added with the Varlamore Part 2 expansion, the Huayquatl, otherwise known as Huey. But before I can do that, I need to take yet another detour to get a weapon that is basically necessary to make that grind not awful. I'm going to Amoxhliatl, another boss that was added with Varlamore Part 2. You see, Huey has a particular phase where all your hit splats are capped at 4 damage, because Jagex really wanted to retroactively justify their decision to add a ton of weapons into the game that split your hit into 2 hit splats. One of those weapons is the Glacial Tomatli, which is a 1 in 100 drop from Amoxhliatl. So my plan is to kill Amoxhliatl until I get the Tomatli, and then use those at Huey to get my herb seeds. And then I'll go to the Inferno, I swear. The run to this boss is going to be absolutely awful. I don't have the Quetzal station unlocked for the Salvager Overlook, so I'm going to need to go to Quetzalcoatl Gorge and run all the way around the Proud Spire. There's an item that Amoxhliatl drops that can teleport you right to the boss, but I could go dry on that as well as the hammers, and since it's a 1 in 100 drop, I could be here for potentially hundreds of K. Oh. Well, there's the Tomatli at 2 KC. That is incredible. I was seriously scared that I'd go dry on this and have to do like hundreds of KC, but there it is. Wow, that's lucky. I'm actually going to do one other thing before I move on to Huey, and that is killing Amoxhliatl with the Tomatli, because Jagex put a combat in the achievement for getting the Tomatli drop and then killing the boss with it. There we go. Now I won't need to worry about that one ever again. Okay, let's talk about this Huey. This is a really weird boss. It has a few uniques, but those uniques just aren't very interesting or good. What I'm interested in is the herb seed table. Huey was designed as a multi-phase group boss, but it is possible to solo it. And if you do solo it, you're guaranteed to get the maximum possible number of seeds. So if I roll the 1 in 34 chance to get toadflax seeds, I'm guaranteed to get 40 of them. That means Huey is now one of the best places in the game to get herb seeds on an Ironman, which is really weird considering how useless it is for the uniques. But even though these herb seed drops are so good, that doesn't mean the grind's gonna be quick. Like I said, this is a multi-phase group boss, and I'm killing it solo, which means these kill times are gonna be long, like over 10 minutes long for a single KC. There are things you can do to speed it up, but they involve having multiple ult accounts, and I don't have multiple ults, so I am gonna be doing it truly solo. So let's take a walk through the different phases of the fight. First is the body phase. Little bits of Huey's body are vulnerable in the cracks of the mountain, and you have to kill them all to move on. While you do that, you have to dodge these glowing floor tiles and block the projectile attacks with protection prayers. They're kind of like the prayer attacks at Ulm. Once all the body segments are done, you move up to the summit where you do the exact same thing while attacking the head. There's also this whole mechanic about using your protection prayers to charge these pillars for a damage buff, but it's literally impossible to do with less than 3 people in the group, so if you are doing it solo, you just ignore it. Next, you have to kill the tail, and this is the phase with the damage cap I was talking about earlier. All your hits are capped at 4, but that's per hit splat, so a weaker weapon that hits twice is probably going to be more DPS than a stronger weapon that only hits once. The cap also increases if you're using a crush weapon, so the Tamale works pretty well here. There's also this wave attack you have to dodge, or else you take some pretty big damage. The last phase is finishing off the head. It's just like the first head phase, but everything happens faster, and you also have to deal with the shockwaves from the tail. This boss is mostly just a big damage sponge, but when you finish it off, you get some pretty big loot drops. Okay, 2 improvements I'm going to make going into this. First, Thralls. Thralls are going to help throughout the fight, but especially on the tail phase where the damage is capped and the HP is lower. Secondly, I think I figured out how to consistently dodge the shockwaves. In the tail phase, I'm running from one green tile to the other and clicking on the tick after the tail slams the ground, and that times the run so that I can pretty consistently dodge the shockwave. And for the enrage phase, you can actually stand on these yellow tiles when the shockwave is coming from the opposite side of the arena, and that actually works as a safe spot. You can keep attacking when you're on the eastern one, but you do have to sacrifice a few ticks to use the west side one, but it's still worth it because the shockwave is basically the only real source of damage in this fight. Oh wow, okay, that was actually a sub 10-minute kill. I didn't even realize that would be possible with my gear and without using the ulting method. Hey, the first unique, Soiled Pages. These are used in the Tome of Earth, which is also a unique from Huey. I'm not ever going to be using that, so these will just get dropped. Yes, there we go, the first seed drop. Avanto seeds, the first of many. Yes, Corm seeds too, very nice to see. Ooh, that is a nice one too. That is the Huasca seed drop. It's a new type of herb that they added to the game with this boss, and I will explain what it's for when I'm ready to start the Inferno, because it's going to be really nice for that. 10 KC, that is a combat achievement. Ooh yes, that is the first Torstal seed drop. That's huge, because that's the one that's the hardest to get from other methods. I just need one more drop of Torstal seeds, and then I'll be good for those on the checklist. Ooh, the shark drop is really nice too. That means I won't have to leave anymore to go buy potatoes. I can just unnote the sharks and cook them here. And Huey Veteran, that's the other CA for KC at 25. Ooh, there it is, the second Torstal seed drop. That is actually, yeah, that's actually all the Huey that I have to do then. I knew going into this that Huey wasn't going to be the only source of herb seeds for this grind. Huey is really nice for when you need something like Torstal seeds where it's really hard to get them from other sources, and it does give you a lot of other types of seeds too, but now that I only need the more common ones, I can switch to something a lot less focused, Necreals. Now you may be thinking of the greater Necreals in the catacombs, but it turns out the regular Necreals are actually really good for herb seed drops, so I'm going to be camping those for a while to finish up this checklist. Wow, it really sucks having every clip be like multiple days apart, but here we are. It's been something like 20 or 30 hours of killing necreals, and we are just about done with the checklist. And I know you may be thinking, why the hell did you switch to necreals instead of staying at Huey when the drops were that good? But I did do the math on the expected seeds per hour for both methods, and the necreals did end up being faster. Huey is just that slow to kill. You may also be saying, wow, that's a lot of hard clues. And yeah, I didn't even realize going into this that I'd be getting so many hard clues, but I decided to just juggle them until I was done with the grind, so here we are. There are 49 hard clue scrolls here, and they are all non-wieldy steps, so that is a guaranteed 8 caskets, and I'll likely have a lot more when I'm done. In case you didn't know, your progress on a treasure trail is saved to your account, not to the clue objects themselves. So what that means is that if you get a bunch of clue scrolls on the ground at the same time, you can start on one of them until you get a step that you don't want to do, like wieldy steps for me, or stash units that I don't have filled, and then you can just switch to the next scroll and your progress is saved. This method was popularized by Settled in his Swampletics series, but it's actually gotten a lot easier since then because they made clue scrolls stay on the ground for a full hour instead of 3 minutes, and that timer also pauses when you log out now, so you can juggle clues across login sessions like I've been doing. And here we are, that is the last clue, and now I have 32 hard caskets in my inventory. Let's see what we get. Frighteningly, I'm halfway through these clues and I have not gotten a single new unique. There we go. Blue dragon mask.
Ooh.
Hey, a Bandos piece. That's really good. Because I'm eventually going to need the full set for single storing the BGS. Guthix Crozier. Ooh, Ancient Quaff. Ooh, Ancient Bracers.
Oh.
Okay.
Bisexual bracers.
Alright, not too bad. I wasn't really expecting too much out of this, but it was a nice way to get my hard clue KC up, and I got a few uniques out of it. It also gave me some nice money from all the alkables. Anyway, now that grind is over, it's time to farm all of those herb seeds and finally clear up this inventory space. I'm actually going to be going through my toadflax seeds before any of the other ones because I'm actually going to be getting a lot of seeds out of the seed nests I'm going through as the secondaries. I'll explain once I finish farming these, which is going to take a while. Okay, I have all my toadflax here. Oh yeah, we're doing the whole multiple days between clips thing again. Those took a real long time to farm. Anyway, it's time to turn these into Ceradomin brews. I have a ton of noted crushed bird nests from all the way back when I was getting 99 Hunter last year, so I'm gonna go through those first, and that'll actually be the really easy part of this grind because there's no processing involved. I don't have to crush the nests, and I don't have to take anything out of them. There we go, that is the last of the noted crushed nests. And now it is time to finally exchange these mole parts from a giant mole grind I did a long time ago during a UIM showdown competition. It's been a while since I've shown off how this works, so here is the rundown. When you trade in mole parts, you get 3 boxes. A box of empty nests, a box of nests with rings inside them, and a box of nests with seeds inside them. I'm gonna go through the empty nest first since that's the easiest and it also has the fewest of them. This is pretty similar to what I was doing with the noted crushed nests, but this time I have to manually crush the nests for each inventory. Next up is the ring nests, and for these there's yet another step involved, which is pulling out all the rings. I'm just dropping them, there's no point alking them or anything, it would just make the process take a lot longer. And finally we have these seed nests. This is the most complicated one because some of these seeds I'm actually going to be saving. Specifically, I want to save any Catentine, Torstal, Ranar, or Snapdragon seeds I get and process them with this grind, and I'll also be keeping any of the really expensive seeds and dropping them to my main. There we go, that took a while, but that is all of my brews made. I wanted to do this first before I farmed any of the other seeds because I knew I would be getting a lot of extra herb seeds from this, and yes, I do have a lot of Torstal potions left over, but I am done with this. I'm not going to the giant mole again to get more secondaries, these are just going to get dropped to my main for some money. The rest of these are basically going to be repeats of all the potions I was making in the last video, so if you want to see how UIMs do things like making super combat potions or super energies for stamina potions, you can go back and watch that one. Oh, it has been some time since the last clip. I've been spending quite a few days now farming herb seeds and secondaries and making potions, 12 days to be exact, but as of today, I can say that I am completely done. All my herb seeds are used up and turned into potions, and more importantly, my looting bag is much cleaner. I managed to free up the spots that were taken up by my super attack potions, super defense potions, moleskins, mole claws, crushed nests, and amylase crystals for a total of 6 bag slots that I can use for whatever I want. And not only that, I also dropped my seed box, which was an untradeable item, so it couldn't even go in the bag at all, so that's even better. It's an inventory slot freed up. Now you may be wondering, did everything match up exactly? Did you have exactly enough herbs to use with the secondaries and vice versa? And the answer is no, and I am absolutely fine with that. I've been spending so much time on this process. It's been over 3 weeks now of gathering herb seeds and farming and making potions, and I just flat out do not want to spend any more time getting more seeds or secondaries to squeeze just a few more potions out. I ended up with a lot of herbs and secondaries left over, and I dropped them to my main. I'm done. I also want to draw your attention to one particular potion stack here, and that is the Prayer Regen potions. These are a new type of potion that were added to the game with Varlamore Part 2, and they are made using the new Huasca seeds from Huey and the Aldarium secondary that you can buy from the Mixology reward shop. These are similar to prayer enhanced potions from raids, except you can use them anywhere. They restore your prayer points over time, though not as quickly as the ones from raids. That said, the reason these are still really good is that they give you way more prayer points per inventory slot compared to a normal prayer potion. A dose of prayer pot would restore 33 prayer points for me instantly, but a dose of prayer regen potion restores 66 prayer points across 8 minutes. So for most PvM it's not very useful, but it is really good for marathon style PvM where you're gonna be fighting for potentially hours with just a single inventory of supplies like the Inferno. One of the most important aspects of your strategy going into the Inferno is conserving your supplies. You can't just leave and resupply. One inventory is all you get. So, cramming more prayer points into one inventory slot is going to be a huge benefit for getting the Infernal Cape. That said, I don't have very many of them, so I really need to get good enough at the Inferno on the main so that I can reliably get the cape within my first few attempts on the UIM. And that kind of brings me to the point of no return here. I've been spending the last 49 days since maxing, doing all sorts of stuff to clean up my inventory and train up my main, and now's the time that it's all finally gonna happen. So let's talk about the Inferno. The Inferno is a 69 wave gauntlet stop laughing that is arguably the most difficult piece of content in old school RuneScape that was intended for solo players. So yes, things like solo Tob are harder, but that wasn't really how that content was intended to be played in the first place. The Inferno is basically the sequel to the Tizar fight caves, and it functions very similarly to how the fight caves work, but every single aspect of the challenge is much harder. There are more waves, it's a lot harder to safe spot enemies, the enemies hit way harder, and they also have special abilities that can kill your run if you don't account for them. And to cap it all off, the final boss is immensely difficult. And of course, if you die at any point during the run, you're starting over from wave 1. So off the bat, the map of the Inferno is very different from the fight caves. The fight caves is in this big cave system with lots of geometry on the edges that you can use to safe spot enemies. The map of the Inferno is a square. You cannot safe spot on the edges. The end. However, there are 3 pillars in the room that are there to help you stay safe. A lot of the strategy for quote-unquote solving a particular wave involves figuring out how best to use the pillars to your advantage, potentially safe spotting several enemies at once while you take them out one by one. However, you can't just use the pillars forever. Every wave of the Inferno includes a spawn of 3 nibblers, and these enemies are pretty unique. They don't aggro you, they aggro the pillars, and if they get to the pillars, they'll start dealing small amounts of damage to it. Once a pillar takes 255 damage, it gets destroyed, and you can't use that pillar for the rest of the run. So, at the start of every wave, I have to make sure I freeze the nibblers to keep them from reaching the pillars, and then I need to either kill them quickly or kill everything else quickly so I can finish them off. If I were to ignore the nibblers entirely, they'd quickly destroy the pillars and I would have no way of safe spotting the other enemies, and in the Inferno, that is basically a death sentence. The first type of normal enemy in the Inferno is the Bat. The Bat in the fight caves attacked with melee and would drain your prayer when it hits you, but the Inferno Bat attacks with ranged, and if you're not praying against it, it drains your run energy and combat stats. It's not nearly as deadly as the later enemies, but if you ignore them, they can start causing problems pretty quickly. And now, starting with Wave 4, there is the Blob. The Blobs in the fight caves are really easy to deal with. You basically just ignore them entirely until they're the last enemy in the wave. But in the Inferno, they're one of the toughest enemies to deal with because they use both ranged and magic. And not only that, they're also smart about it. They'll attack every 6 ticks, and halfway between each of their attacks, they read your protection prayer and queue up an attack of the opposite style. So, you basically have to switch your prayer just before they attack, or else they'll use the opposite one to what you're praying. They also hit 29s. That's just the reality of the Inferno. Even the lower level enemies hit hard, so you need to make sure to always be reacting to what enemies can target you and take as few unprotected hits as possible. Oh, and one more thing about the blobs. When you kill a blob in the fight caves, it spawns a couple mini blobs that you can generally one-shot. When you kill a blob in the Inferno, it splits into 3 mini blobs that all attack with different attack styles and can hit 18s. So, be ready for that. Wave 9 is the start of the melee enemies. Just like the meleeers in the fight caves, you're going to want to safe spot them so you can take them out with ranged while they can't get into melee range to attack you. However, these guys have an extra ability. If they're safe spotted for 30 seconds or more, they will dig into the ground and teleport to you. So, you have to make sure to either take them out very quickly or be ready for the dig. Oh, and they hit 49s. So you need to be ready for the dig. At Wave 18, you get the Rangers. Now, these guys are the most straightforward out of all the enemies. They attack with ranged, and they hit 46s. They don't have any special abilities, so a lot of the time they will be the ones to safe spot while you take care of the other ones. And the last of the normal enemies comes in at Wave 35, the Major. Not only does this one hit the hardest, like the Fight Caves version, though this one hits 70s, it also has a special ability. Every time it gets ready to attack, there is a 1 in 10 chance that it will instead use this ability to respawn another enemy that you've already killed. Not only does this waste a ton of time and burn through supplies, it can also completely screw you over if you've solved a wave, but suddenly there's a meleeer in your face that you didn't account for. The first 66 waves out of the 69 total are all about figuring out how to deal with all these enemies. As the waves go on, more complicated arrangements of them will spawn, so it's all about learning how to solve each wave like a puzzle. Honestly, you can make a good case for the waves as a whole being way harder to learn than the final boss. Alright, here's the starting loadout. We'll just sort of see how this goes, I guess. I managed to just about match my UIM's equipment for this, but with one slight difference, which is that I have a Virtus switch instead of an Ancestral switch. The reason for this is that Virtus is about 150 mil cheaper between the top and bottom, and I needed that discount to afford the full loadout. That said, Virtus actually gives me a slight benefit for learning the Inferno because it's actually better than Ancestral for ancient spells, which is what I'll be using them for. That said, I don't think it'll be a big enough boost that I'll notice at all. There's one other difference between this and the UIM loadout, which is that I'm not maxed on this account, and that is important because on the UIM, I'm going to be camping the Max Cape, which gives me the full Ava's effect for ammo saving, and the Prayer Cape bonus of getting more prayer points from prayer pots. So I think overall, doing the Inferno on this account is going to be slightly harder than when I do it on the UIM, but not by much. I'm also going to be keeping track of the results of my attempts here so I can see how I'm progressing over time. I'll be recording the wave I get to on each attempt as well as the reason I died. So this is the first test, properly dealing with blobs. Like I said earlier, blobs will read your prayer and attack with the other style 3 ticks later. So you need to switch your prayer to the other one in between that read and when the attack begins. The way I learned to do that was just to wait a second or so after the projectile hits me and then switch my prayer. And if it's really far away from me, just swap to it as soon as the projectile hits me. By itself, I picked up the timing really easily, but it definitely gets much harder when you have to do it while moving around or while killing another enemy or even figuring out what to do for the rest of the wave. Well, that was fast. I did not wait long enough before switching my prayer to block the blob attack, and I was also already really low from other issues. But that's all stuff that's going to naturally fix itself over time. On to the next one. All right, attempt number 2, much better. I ended up getting to wave 28 that time, which is the first one where you have 3 different types of enemies attacking you. I got a pretty bad spawn there, and I was pretty slow in solving it, so I got screwed up by the melee digging on me, but I'm still pretty happy with wave 28 on my second ever attempt. Hey, there is a combat achievement halfway there. For getting halfway there. Ah, damn it. That is attempt 4 in the books. I think I prayer switched too early again on that one. Still, I managed to get to wave 41 on that one, which isn't bad at all. That's well past the halfway point, though obviously that didn't mean too much when all the really hard stuff is in the back half. I was also using a lot more resource than I thought I would, which isn't ideal, but I also barely used my prayer regen potions, so I think I just need to be more liberal with those in the early waves. This is the first real quote-unquote tech used for the Inferno, specifically when you have a blob and either a major or ranger stacked up on a pillar. You can pop out and attack one of them and start switching your prayers back and forth between ranged and magic every tick, and it actually lines up perfectly so that you're always praying successfully against both of them. One tick switching your prayers always protects against a blob because it queues up the attack for an odd number of ticks in the future, so you end up using the alternate prayer compared to when it was queued up, and it works against the non-blob because both rangers and majors have an even attack speed, so you're always praying the same prayer whenever its attack starts up. You do have to make sure to start with the correct prayer though, so if you're handling a stacked major and blob, you have to start with praying magic, because otherwise you'll be praying the wrong prayer every time the major attacks. Yeah, that one's not happening. That is attempt number 5, and I got to wave 47 with that. I'm almost breaking into the really hard part of the Inferno, which is the 50s into the early 60s when you have majors and rangers at the same time. Honestly, I'm really happy that I'm making it this deep on literally day 1. Alright, good morning, it's day 2, and I made a small loadout change. You can see that I've swapped out the Virtus robe bottom for an occult necklace. I had originally opted for the Virtus legs because I thought I would care more about accuracy than damage, but A, my magic accuracy is already perfectly fine for everything that needs it, and B, I was not taking defense into account, and I think camping the Masori legs is going to help a ton for the very beginning of waves, where I need to tank a hit sometimes. So I guess let's just get into some more attempts. So much of the process of learning the waves is just training the right instincts. I went into this thinking a lot of it would be logically deducing. If I have these enemies stacked up in this way, I need to do this specific procedure to solve it and move on. But a lot of it is a lot more vibes than anything. There are competing priorities, like I need to kill the major early so that fewer enemies get revived, but also I need to kill the meleeer early so it can't fuck me up by digging to a bad spot, as well as I need to try and stay safe spotted from rangers and blobs so I can get to a comfortable spot to solve the wave, and also I need to kill all this stuff ASAP so I can kill the nibblers, and that's not to mention that it's all on a time limit, not just the macro time limit of the pillar health, but also the micro time limit of choosing the correct side of the pillar to use just within a few game ticks, or figuring out how I'm going to handle a dig or a respawn before that happens. It's all very rushed, and there are so many different moving parts. A lot of it is just a matter of developing the intuition to make very quick guesses and have those guesses be mostly right. Sure. That's a solve. God damn it, god damn it, god damn it. Fuck! God damn it. I totally had that. Something else I learned from that run is that I really need to get better at figuring out when I have opportunities to kill the nibblers safely throughout the run. I was down to the last pillar there and it was getting really low, so even if I hadn't gotten dragged out there at the end, I would have lost all the pillars before making it to the end of the waves anyway. Alright, the pillar's dead. That is attempt number 7 done, but I managed to get to wave 60. I feel like I did a really good job with the supplies and pillar health until around wave 50, which makes sense because that's when you get both the major and the ranger at the same time. That said, I am really happy that I managed to not only get there, but also get to the part where there's both of those and a meleeer, and a blob. So at this point, all that's left in the waves is just to survive just a few rounds in that state, and then everything just starts collapsing on itself, and it gets easier until wave 66. So I feel like at this point, it's a matter of getting just a bit better so that I can do that, but with less pillar damage and resources used. Files in Remington can unnote items for a fee. Perfect for Ultimate Ironman. Really? You sure about that? For reference there, I had paused the run because I had to go do something, and when I got back, the pillar immediately died. But that's a new PB, wave 62 on attempt number 11. That's the second hardest wave in the run, and if I made it past that, that would have been wave 63, which is the hardest. It is literally just a matter of doing that, but with less damage on the pillars. Okay, this is attempt number 13, and I am just about to complete wave 63. That is the hardest wave in the Inferno done. Major, Ranger, Meleeer, and 2 blobs. It is all literally downhill from there because there are no blobs in the next wave, and then no Meleeers in the wave after that, and no Rangers after that. We are actually kinda home free for the waves here. Alright, wave 66 is done. That's the end of the waves, and now for the home stretch. After wave 66, wave 67 puts you up against Jad, just like in the fight caves, and honestly the Inferno Jad is very similar. It has all the same mechanics, no new mechanics, and the only difference is that its stats are scaled up, both for Jad himself and the healers. So Jad's more likely to one-shot you if you mess up a prayer switch, and the healers will do a bit more damage to you if you get multiple on you at the same time. The Jad fight in the Inferno is really just a matter of nerves. It does get a bit easier to mess up a prayer switch if you're stressing out too much. That said, there is a strategy I'm using to make the fight a lot simpler, which is to safe spot the healers on each other. So if you stand on this tile, 2 tiles north of Jad's northwest corner, once the healers spawn, you can tag them starting with the furthest one, and they will all stack up like this so that only one of them can hit you. And that means you can just keep attacking Jad and you won't take too much damage. And then wave 68, the second to last wave. You know what's more dangerous than 1 Jad? If you were thinking 2 Jads, you're wrong because it's 3 Jads, all at the same time. Now they are off-ticked, otherwise it would be impossible to complete, but you have to be dealing with the prayer switches for 3 separate Jads, all at the same time while handling the healers, keeping your prayer up, stuff like that. I'm tackling these in the same way as the single Jad because you can just trap the healers just as easy. It's all nerves because you're 1.5 hours in, nearly at the final boss, and 1 missed prayer switch can kill you. Damn it. Okay. Got fucked up by triple Jads. Okay, just gotta get to that point more often, and then that'll get it going. That'll get me in the right state of mind to do that. Okay, one small change to the loadout. I am bringing a crystal shield. I thought I would be able to get by without it and things would be a bit simpler, not having to worry about an offhand, but I'm realizing that's a bit stupid when there's basically no trade-off to taking it. I can't wear it while I'm using the T-bow or blowpipe, but I can when I'm wielding the Kodai wand, so basically it's going to be a lot less likely to take damage at the start of waves when there's a major and ranger up, and also when I'm barraging the mini blobs when there's multiple of them that can even target me. So even if that's only a small reduction in damage, it means I can spend less time blood barraging my health back up, and in the worst case, it could potentially save me from having to use Bruise. What? What'd I miss? Oh my god! It was a fucking meleeer. I can't do that. Oh my god. That fucking sucks. And that is the kind of mistake you make exactly once. Fuck, what did I do wrong? Oh, that sucks. That was such a good run. Man. So looking at that footage again, the problem was that the Major was blocked by the blob and could not line up with the Ranger, so when I did the method to off-tick them, it did not properly off-tick them and they attacked me at the same time. One thing that's been helping me recently is using the Entity Hider plugin in RuneLite, and specifically turning on the setting to hide dead NPCs. Whenever one of the monsters in the Inferno dies, it has a death animation that spans a few ticks, and during that animation, its model can still block other monsters that I might want to click on. So by turning on this option, whenever a monster's HP reaches 0, its model entirely disappears, and I can click through to whatever's underneath. It's particularly nice for things like taking out nibblers one by one, or instantly seeing the new state of a pillar stack once I kill one of the enemies, so I can see where all the monsters are gonna move. Alright, I managed to barely make it to the end here, so now it's time to do Jad, and hopefully get to triple Jads again. One thing I'm keeping in mind here is that there's no penalty for letting Jad heal to full like there is in the fight caves, so I can just take it slow and get my bearings, and then work on aggroing the healers slowly. That was a perfect triple Jads. I think I managed to do that without a single mistake. The reward for making it all the way to the final wave of the Inferno is the final boss, Cal Zuck. This boss is truly the answer to the question of how can we make Jad more difficult? Zuck's auto attacks have a max hit of 148 and cannot be blocked with prayer, so the only way to avoid them is to stand behind the shield that moves back and forth across the arena. So for the entire boss fight, you are on the move. If you stop moving for long enough, you will die because Zuck will hit you with an auto attack and it will one-shot you. The shield won't be there for long though, because shortly into the fight, Zuck will spawn a Ranger and a Major, and both of them won't be aggroed on you, they'll be aggroed on the shield. They'll switch aggro to you as soon as you tag them, but because they both hit so high, you can't just tag both of them or else they'll kill you. So you have to kill the Ranger as quickly as you possibly can, and then tag the Major to get it off the shield. Once Zuck is down to 40% HP, he'll spawn another enemy, and it's a Jad. Jad follows the same logic as the Major and Ranger from earlier in the fight, so you need to tag him to get him off the shield and then take him out quickly, making sure to never miss a prayer switch. Aggro the healers when they spawn, and then keep moving with the shield no matter what. At this point, I know my DPS hasn't been the best throughout the fight so far, and that is just an RNG thing, so I decided to stall until Zuck spawned another Ranger and Major so I could take those out and keep them from spawning in while I'm finishing up the rest of the fight. Once I took care of the Ranger and Major, I knew that my health wasn't going to be enough to carry me through the rest of the fight, and I was entirely out of brews, so there was no way this run was going to make it to the finish line, but I decided to just keep pushing on to get as far as I could. Damn it. Okay. I'm really happy with that. Got into healers. That's like Cape in the next few runs, I think. That's literally just do that, but with fewer mistakes throughout the wave so I have more brews, and then I am perfectly fine. Alright, so on the literal next run back, I'm actually gonna get to see Zuck again here, so let's see how it goes. My supplies are kinda weird here. I actually forgot to bring ranging pots, so I ended up with more brews and restores than normal. The triple Jads were actually taking longer to kill as a result, so hopefully we don't see the same problem with Zuck. Damn it. Oh, man. I knew I shouldn't have greeted that hit on the healer there. I should have just let it go and then got it on the next cycle and just got my my prayer correct. Damn. Oh, and he hit me at 90, of course. All right, that wasn't deserved anyway because I had to tank a hit from Zuck earlier, so still good practice. 2 Zuck sightings in one day is pretty good. I'm pretty happy about that. After a couple attempts that failed to bad spawns, I found myself back at Zuck, and this time I had a lot more supplies, so I was more prepared to push into the ending of the fight. At 20% HP, Zuck spawns a set of healers, but these healers work differently from the Jad ones. They heal Zuck until you tag them, but instead of following you around and trying to melee you, they deal AoE damage all over the floor, so there's basically no way to avoid the damage while following the shield. You just have to heal through it. And on the first run that seriously made it to the healers, I managed to actually take them out, which was a huge moment. Once you've killed the healers, that's the last mechanic left in the fight. You've done all the hard parts. All that's left is a damage race, because eventually Zuck will spawn another Ranger and Major, and if you took too long taking care of the first set, you're not going to have enough time to kill the Ranger and tag the Major before they take out the shield. Oh my god. Fuck, the DPS just wasn't there, man. Oh my god, it just noodled so hard. The T-bow noodled. That's like all I can say. Oh, that sucks, dude. Because that was home free. That was past the healers, and that's all that was needed there. That just really, really, really sucks. Alright, this is attempt number 27. We are getting close to Jed here. Alright, here goes nothing. Oh, I'm noodling early. I'm really noodling. Alright. Come on, man. Fucking hit. Fucking hit. That might kill me. Oh, I'm living. One more hit. That might do it. Yes! Let's go! Woo! Oh my god. That's a fucking Infernal Cape right there. Let's go! Oh my god. You're very impressive for a Jelute. You managed to defeat Tizkalzuk for now. Dude, there it is. Let's fucking go, man. And no luck required, which I believe is for not getting chanced by either Zuck or a Jad. I did it. I fucking did it. That's my first cape ever on this game on any account. Oh my god. Take a look at that thing, man. Let me go ahead and show the stats and everything. There we go. +4 to melee accuracy and 1 to magic and range, and then +12 to all the defenses, and then +2 prayer bonus, and most importantly, +8 melee strength bonus. There we go. Now I just got to do that a couple more times until I am going to feel satisfied with that, and then it's time to go do it on the UIM. All right, awesome. They call him Disco the way he Inferno. Holy shit. Okay, so I think there's going to be a bit of a change of plans here. I logged into my UIM to check and see how many arrows and prayer regen pots I have, since those are going to be the limiting factor for my supplies, and I actually have a lot more than I expected. I have enough prayer regen pots for like 8 or 9 deep attempts, and maybe even more if I take 3 of them per attempt instead of 4, which I think I can get away with easily. I think I'm just going to go ahead and switch to doing attempts on the UIM instead of trying to get a couple more capes on the main. I feel like the difference maker for my runs now is mostly RNG, so I should probably just start sending attempts. The one thing that's going to make this significantly more annoying on the UIM compared to the main is the fact that I have to deal with redoing my inventory between attempts. I think what I'm going to do is use the decanter to separate my potion stacks so that I can bag 4 dose potions for all the ones I'm going to actually use on this attempt, and then bag the rest as 1 doses. That way I can still get everything into my inventory to death bank and then pull out just the potions I'm going to be using and not have to waste inventory space with noted potions. Oh, and the Inferno is a safe activity for the purposes of death banks, so I am perfectly fine to use one here. Otherwise, this would be a lot harder. I guess the flip side here is that I have a benefit on the UIM that I don't have on the main, which is that I'm gonna have my max cape on me at all times. Having the construction cape perks built in is really nice for when you're moving around the game with most of your stuff death banked. So this is the loadout I'm using here, and like I said earlier, it's more or less identical to what I was using on the main, though I did tweak the numbers on the potions a bit. One difference is that I'm using the max cape instead of the assembler, which is a tiny bit worse on range bonuses, but gives me an extra benefit by restoring more prayer points when I sip a restore. It also has some extra defense bonuses and a +4 prayer bonus, which is nice. The other difference between this and the main is that I'm using an ancestral top instead of a Virtus top, and like I said earlier, that was mostly just for the cost savings on the main because Ancestral is way more expensive, and actually this is going to end up being a slight downgrade because the Virtus set gives you additional bonuses when using ancient spells. So basically I'm going to have 2% less magic damage bonus and -2 prayer bonus compared to the main, which shouldn't be a problem. Overall, I think the prayer cape perk is going to outweigh everything else, not because the prayer cape perk is a big deal, but because everything else is so minuscule. Alright, it is finally time. Let's dive into the Inferno on the UIM. Alright, it is literally the first attempt on the UIM, and I am at wave 64, so I am basically gonna be getting to Jad for sure, especially with 2 pillars, so unless I get totally screwed on 65, which could happen, but regardless, if I manage to actually get this cape on the literal first attempt on the UIM, I'm gonna be like over the moon, so let's see how it goes. Zuck time. Please go to the right, Mr. Shield. I would very much like for you to go right. Thank you. That was really good. That was barely any damage, so I can deal with the second set if I need to. Oh no. No, I went too early. No. Oh my god, I totally had that in the bag. Oh, that blows. Oh my god. What a choke, man. Oh my god. That is very, very embarrassing. All I had to do was just stay behind the shield and I fucked that up. That is awful. Now, I took a look at the clip here and I realized that I was literally 1 tick off there. You have to be on the safe spot when Zuck's attack starts, and then you are clear to move. Here, you can see my true tile moves, and then Zuck's animation starts, so it was literally a half-second difference between getting the cape in 1 attempt and failing the run after 100 minutes. By the way, if you're wondering what the process is like to set up for a new attempt, here is the process. I pull my potions out of the death bank, split the stacks and put them in the bag, and then pull everything else out of Hesperie and put that in the bag, and then re-death bank and pull out my gear and potions for the next attempt. It's not really too bad, and it's definitely worth it to min-max the inventory like this, even if it takes more time between runs. Okay, I just had a run die to a bad spawn on wave 61, and I had a little bit of a realization. I went back and looked at the footage from that last run that got to Zuck, and I realized something interesting, and you may have as well. I forgot to sit my stamina potion, and my run energy was at 80, and I was all the way to having killed the Jad spawn. I was really confused by this, but then I remembered that earlier this year, Jagex put an update into the game that made run energy drain way slower. So much so that a lot of content no longer needs stam potions, and the guides I've been using for learning the Inferno were created before that change, back when you needed to bring a stamina pot. So long story short, I never needed a stamina potion in the first place. And instead, I can have that taken up with another ranging potion. That's going to let me use a ranging potion all the way through the major ranger waves, which is going to speed those up a ton, and it might even be the difference maker for situations where I need to quickly kill an enemy while under fire. We'll see how this goes now. Okay, I just really hope another set doesn't spawn while I'm killing these guys. Fuck me. What? Oh no! Oh, that sucks. Also, how am I not dead yet? That is awful. I just about saved the shield there too. I think it was probably like one attack away. Oh, that's horrible. Looking at the footage, I ended up tagging the major literally one tick too late. No! No! I didn't heal. Oh my god, I thought I was safe there. I thought I was gonna be fine. Oh, man. Oh, no. I was so good on supplies too. I could have easily just healed there. I was probably fine on the set too. Oh, man. I fucked it. I live. I really need that shield to live. I got out of the safe spot too early. I'm not even sure what I should have done there. Maybe wait until after the set to spawn the healers. I just don't know what was the right thing to do there. Okay, maybe next time. I think I have it. Just don't choke this. Okay, we're good. Choke what choke? Nope, don't grade it. Yes! Let's go! Oh my god, it's over. It's fucking over. There we go. Infernal Cape on the UIM. Let's fucking go! Yes! Oh my god. There we go. Oh my god. I did it. I fucking did it, man. Take a look at that, man. Let me turn off these fucking tile indicators. Oh my god. I have an Infernal Cape on the UIM. Let's fucking go, dude. Woo! I fucked up so many times at Triple Jads and Zuck there. I got chanced a few times at Jads, I think, and I almost got chanced a few times at Zuck. I just, I guess barely was behind the shield or whatever, but there we go. Oh my god, it counts. I had so many bullshit deaths anyway that I don't even care that I got chanced a few times there, because there were just so many runs that I would have gotten if my T-bow had hit harder. Oh my god. That's so good. Oh, there's one more thing I gotta get though. Alright, Mr. Mac, go ahead and give me another cape. And let's use the Infernal Cape on the Extra Max Cape. And there we go, man. Infernal Max Cape on the UIM. Once again, let's get these tile indicators off. Oh, take a look at that. It's so cool. It's so cool. So much cooler than the Fire Cape. I did it. 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 That is the hardest thing that I have ever done in a video game. The whole process of getting from 0 to Infernal Cape. Easily the hardest thing that I've ever done in a video game. And it's done. I have an Infernal Max Cape on the UIM. Wait, there's one more thing I gotta do, actually. Alright, where are you at, Bodhi? Give me that UIM armor. There we go. Let me get the rest of this taken off here. Boom! UIM helm, Infernal Max Cape. Oh my god. There we go. And with that, I am now the owner of an Infernal Max Cape on a UIM. In total, I made 33 attempts at the Inferno in this video, between the main and the UIM. I got the main cape on attempt 27 and the UIM cape on attempt 6. In total, it was probably around 43 hours of total playtime spent inside the Inferno, about 32 on the main and the remaining 11 on the UIM. Like I said, this is the hardest thing I have ever done in a video game, and I am beyond proud of it. Between getting a twisted bow, maxing the account, and completing the Inferno, this account has become a force to be reckoned with, but I'm nowhere near done with it. I have my eyes set on quite a few upgrades I'd like to get on this account, and starting in the next video, I'm going to be taking my UIM on a journey to get some of the best gear available in this game. If you want to make sure you don't miss it, you can subscribe to the channel, and if you want to keep up with things in the meantime, you can follow me on Blue Sky or join my Discord server. Both of those links are in the description. Before I end this video, I also want to mention something that's going to be happening pretty soon, and that is the UIM Summer Showdown event for 2025. UIM Showdown is the biggest UIM community event in the game, and for the first time, I'm going to be helping to put the event on, as I've been asked to join the UIM Showdown staff team. UIM Summer Showdown 2025 will run from August 1st at midnight UTC to August 10th at 6 p.m. UTC. If you play a UIM, you should come join the competition. It's a ton of fun, and all UIMs are welcome regardless of account progress, restrictions, or expected playtime during the event. Player signups will be opening soon as I record this, and they may even be open by the time you see this, so go check out the link in the description to the UIM Showdown Discord server and check it out. With that said, I am very excited for what comes next on the UIM, and I'll see you then.